in the middle of the night or early Friday morning, depending upon where you are in the world, a group of experienced comics professionals get together to examine and instruct about the art form that they love. That's great comic artwork on Comics by Night, Fridays at 5 a.m. Eastern, here on the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com.
What was that? This is not a charade.
Good morning, everybody. It's going to be a great day. Here on Nerd Bacon, we've already got the clangs and the clatters of the kitchen going this morning.
Yeah, it's a good start.
It's a good start to the day. We've got a very, very fun topic this morning. We're going to be talking about the Uncanny Superfan. We'll talk about some moments that made us the fans that we are. We might even ask the question, are toxic fans even a thing? And if it is, are they just fans that have been fed after midnight? Make sure not to get your super fans wet.
Very 80s. Very 80s.
It's a very 80s reference there, isn't it?
There you go. Yeah.
If you get the reference, you get extra points.
Old. Yeah. If you get the reference, you're old.
I don't get it.
You're older.
Gremlins. If you feed the gremlins,
I saw
midnight,
that. Yeah, I saw that way back. Yeah, 40 years.
It turned
ago.
into the you know.
Oh yeah, 20 years ago.
So yeah. So here's what I never understood about that.
It was that good. I watched it never since.
Right.
Sorry, go on.
I mean,
So I was a kid and I already was like, but what about daylight savings?
yeah. Well, daylight savings is a construct to make people work, take care of daylight. That's not really real, is it? Like, we don't use it down here. And that's why we're not the first.
Yeah, but I mean,
So, yeah.
does their biological functions understand daylight savings and time zones?
Yeah.
Or does it really, all that matters is the position of the sun in the sky?
I don't know. Like, that trip to China, from China, would have been like weird because it was by boat.
Yeah.
We didn't get to
So
read
that,
about
that would have
things.
been, so that would have been like in the after, like I'm not sure how far ahead China is from us. But if their biology is for China, then you can't feed them after like sometime in the afternoon.
Yeah, probably.
It's got
I
to
think
do
we-
with the position of the sun and the moon, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about Chinese magic here. I think we're looking too much into this.
We're talking about a movie that's not
A
real.
movie based on Chinese magic. I don't know why I'm saying Chinese magic, but it is what it is.
Back when shrinky dinks were big.
Yeah.
Good question here from Russ. Is the haunting hour 12 a.m. in New York or Paris?
Yep.
Good question.
Yeah.
Good question.
Okay, is the haunting hour different from the witching hour, which is 3 a.m.?
Same thing.
It's the same thing. Yeah, it's the
Okay.
same thing.
Okay. Just checking. Now I'm confused.
Yeah.
'Cause I knew it as the witching hour, not the haunting hour. Jesus, Russ.
Yeah.
I'm not even clever enough to be confused.
Yeah.
I haven't got a clue
He's
what
like,
you're talking about.
forget it. He's like, forget it, guys.
Yeah.
Count me out of this one.
Anyway, I've
Yeah.
got to go now. I'll see you later.
Yeah, see, and that's why Glenn is a quality member of Nerd Bacon. He's just like, yeah, he's like, you're just talking stupid, guys. Gonna make a show, Glenn.
Now
Yeah,
for something completely different.
yeah.
All right. So,
If you look at something and there's nothing there, what's the difference of figuring out what it was in the first place?
see, now I think that is the perfect use for AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, that is what AI should be used for, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all know that that's not really, it's
Very
not like
easy.
it's not like a deep fake. It's like a shallow fake.
Well, I mean, I just read an article.
That's what she said.
Read an article like right now, like deep fake porn is all the rage.
Is it?
Yeah.
And there's like some saying that whenever new technology comes out, the
Yeah.
porn industry will find a way to exploit it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And
Like
develop
one of the
it,
first
actually.
films, we were talking about this the other day during one of our meetings. The very first film that was ever made, one of the first, as soon as they figured out they could do it, was some
second.
Frenchman.
Yeah.
The second film was some Frenchman had some 16-year-olds naked in the
The trees in the woods, running
in the
just
trees,
running
dancing
through
around,
the woods.
dancing around.
You
So
can't-
two things.
You can't spell hentai without AI.
Yeah. So two things happened that day. Hollywood showed their pedophilia hand right off the bat, and
No, that's unfair. That's unfair because it wasn't Hollywood.
it wasn't
No.
Hollywood. No.
Hollywood was 50 years later, so you can't really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but it was the birth of it, right?
yeah,
from the
but then
very-
again, so was the beginning of the planet. So how far do you want to go back and
Right,
drop
yeah.
blame?
And
Yeah,
So
no,
from like the
it is.
second,
An
from like the
inventor-
second movie on,
The
been
inventor
exploiting
sits there and
children.
says, "I can make a moving picture. What do I want to look at?" There you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's the thing, like
Yeah.
even Edison, like
Denson,
in the
bring
times
on
of
the Denson
Nickelodeon, in the times of Nickelodeon, which it's not really movies, like it's like a peep show
Yeah.
thing.
Edison, why did
You
you make
would
the
get-
light bulb?
Yeah.
So I can see what's going on at night.
Yes, you can see my neighbor in her small clothes. Yeah, like
What's that?
in the,
No, I won't say it.
I want to see her ankles. Mm.
Right?
I will sense myself.
How dare you!
It's to do with the light bulb and Californians, but I won't say it.
We can probably see where you're going from there. Yep. Good day so far. I did want to show you guys something. Let me. Well, first let's do a little housekeeping.
Housekeeping. House of peeping.
Guys, be sure to go check out arrowcomics.store for all of your comic book needs. Look at all these great comic books we
Yeah.
have up there. Book after book after book of just pure, good old-fashioned, unadulterated entertainment.
Digital files too.
Digital files too. Check that out. You're gonna want to check. You want to get that for today. Also, don't forget to check out the Luke Stone Studios member access, where you get access to certain stuff for only $5 a month.
Oh, nice.
You get all the insider information from me.
Mm.
We're gonna have a huge announcement tomorrow
Huge.
for aerocomics.store.
Huge.
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 We're talking huge. Huge. Big. Big time.
Gargantuan.
Big time. Gargantuan. Yep. Big. Huge.
Huge.
Be prepared for it. Be looking for it on the horizon. So yeah, I wanted to show that off.
Mm-hmm.
There's so as we were chatting, something came to mind. Let me see if I can find this video.
What's that?
I think I sent it to my daughter. Yeah, there it is. I'm going to share my Facebook.
Hitler is getting ruined by the Donald.
Somebody
You know what's
check this out.
that about?
I'm gonna show you a new screen.
Yeah.
Share screen, share that. Open. Pop that in there. Have you seen this?
Hmm.
Let me turn the
Not diddle kids. Do not diddle kids. It's no good diddling kids.
There is no quicker way for people to think that you are diddling kids than by writing a song about it.
I feel disgusted. I'm too respected. If I was fucking young girls, I promise I'd have been arrested. I'm way too famous for the shit you just suggested.
Gotta definitely write a song about how we do not diddle kids. Do not diddle kids. It's no.
Drake didn't get the memo.
Nope.
Drake didn't get the memo.
That's uncomfortable at any time of day.
Right.
Very uncomfortable in the morning, Luke.
Drake did not get the memo.
Oh my God.
Poor
dude.
Drake. Don't diddle kids. That is the number one way to make people think that you were diddling kids. So Drake puts it in a song. Poor Drake. He doesn't get it.
It's like all of progressive politics.
Just all of it, yeah.
They say one thing, and that's exactly what they're doing. They accuse you of something. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, bingo. Funny. But I just thought that was hilarious. I just thought that was... When I saw that last night, I was like, guys.
That would
Come
be
on.
ironic.
Yeah, that is, you put that in a comedy because it's stupid. No one would actually do that. But then, people do it. They do the things that are... It's like life has become parody.
Ojo wants to know what he walked into.
Oh,
What
just
did I walk into?
general tomfoolery this morning. Having a good time. Yeah, just good stuff. Good
Pedro had to run. Oh, there he is.
stuff. Pedro came back. Yeah, Pedro's back. There he is.
You're all square dancing this morning.
Oh, no audio from Pedro.
No audio from Pedro.
No audio from Pedro.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah, but I didn't run away because it's the way the little bit different.
Now we can't hear you.
Yeah, well, it's the audio takes a second to catch up with StreamYard these days.
Oh,
There we go.
how about now?
You're good.
Sounds good now.
Yeah. Okay.
I need to get a clip of those funeral dancers.
Oh yeah.
I need to get a clip of those guys. 'Cause,
Yeah. Those
I
guys?
like those guys. I find that's probably the most respected way to
To go?
celebrate the life of someone.
No.
Because this morning we have to celebrate the life of Tom Luth.
Tom Luth.
Mm.
Yep.
Tom Luth, a longtime Gru colorist,
Oh, dude.
has passed away, guys, at the age of 70. Still too young. Still too young.
Yeah. By modern standards, yeah. That's really
So
young.
colorist Tom Luth, best known for his work on Sergio,
There we
I
go.
can't even say it,
Aragones.
has died at the age of 70.
Gru.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is getting frightening for me because I'm 70 in January.
Right. See, and you're young and spry.
Yeah, he looks spry.
Mark Evanier noted his passing in his column.
I don't feel it.
Evanier is a writer for Gru.
And that's the thing. Your life is very different, Glenn. Like, you have butlers and you play tennis and you
I
own
don't.
horses and
I
stuff.
haven't played tennis for a long time. And my knees won't let me.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't say what he died of.
Heart attack. He died of a heart attack. It said,
Heart
it said,
attack.
said in the first, his wife found him.
Found him
Oh,
dead of an
no.
apparent heart attack. Yeah.
Yeah, there we
Ooh,
go.
apparent.
I see that now.
Oh,
Right there at the end. See, you got to read all of the words, don't you?
yeah.
They all mean something.
That's
I just
important.
did what I. So I remembered last night why I don't stream at night anymore. Three good reasons. The first one is my ADHD meds have long wore off. Right?
Okay.
2, I get really tired and I start to get punchy. And my brain's not so quick at night when I'm tired. And pair that with the ADHD issues, it's even worse. And then my pain is absolutely worst at night with my chronic pain.
When the sun
So-
goes down. Yeah.
Well, it's because I've tried to wean myself off of the narcotic that I have to take for my nerve pain. But I take my large full dose at night so I can sleep. And then in the morning, I will take a half dose. And that dose wears off pretty early. And so I spend like the last few hours before I take my night meds not feeling great. But I've been able to make it through the day because I just want to have less of the narcotic in me.
I hear you.
And when I stream at night, I oftentimes don't get to take that medicine on time. And so then all of the core pain from the back just keeps me from breathing right. And so I get kind of short and a little curt with people. You know,
Did you have that
so,
before, or is that a COVID-related thing?
That's COVID related.
Oh, man. I'm sorry to hear
Yeah,
that.
that's since the...
It must be really bad because you're awful on any show you're on, Luke.
It is pretty bad. Thank you for noticing, Glenn.
But
Thank
anyway,
you for noticing.
Mr. Luke.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, Mr. Luth. So, yeah, the heart, man. It's you know, I've heard of guys that were just jogging. They jog every day. And, you know, in their 40s, they'll kill over with a heart attack. It's
Yep.
sometimes you never know what's going to take you out. And
Nope. Never do.
It's unfortunate, but sad for the loss.
Yeah.
Glad he was able to leave behind such a great legacy of work for people to enjoy.
Many hundreds of pages of Gru,
Yep.
as well as other work that he colored.
40
He's
years
got a
he's been
lot.
doing that.
Yep,
Yeah.
he's got a long resume.
Nexus and Badger, several
Yeah,
issues of
loose
Mike
other-
Barron's Nexus and Badger.
Yeah, so he did
Number
Mike
of
Barron's
Disney
next
Comics, Mad Magazine, the mini comics
like
that
he-
were included, the Masters of the Universe toys. He also
Looks
did
like
cover
a
work
Bimbo.
with Fantagraphics on titles that range from
Yeah.
Love and Rockets to King Kong. Yeah.
So speaking of Kickstarter, I mean, keeping to Mike Barron. Mike Barron's Kickstarter got some love over here on ICB2. They didn't mention his Fund My Comic, but he has a
Yeah.
retail tier on his Kickstarter that they talked about, and then it's supporting comic books for troops. So they're doing that. They're he hit 21,000 over there on Kickstarter.
Very cool.
They've only hit like 7 or 8,000 on Fund My Comic. I can check. 7.5 is what they've hit over there.
Yeah.
Their numbers have not been great on here because I've not seen the marketing for this platform very well.
Yeah.
I see a lot of links floating around to the pink and green. But I don't know if you guys heard this, but speaking of the green site, so over here on Indie Comics or comicsillustrated.com, they brought up this article about some of the boob books. So we all know that if you have boob covers, right, go to Kickstarter, you're going to make money. Like, that's no secret. In fact, we've mused in back rooms about creating books under assumed names that were nothing but kind of smutty stories and just, 24 pages of boob on boob kind of stuff, and seeing how well it would do. Tyler Carpenter did a little bit of a test with that as well. He used another name, and he did some cheesecakey type storyline that was all boobs and kind of girl related, and
Fan
it did
service.
really well. Yeah, it did really well. And then he announced like what it was afterwards, and we're like, oh, well, of course it did well. It's a boob book, right?
No.
And everyone said if you do like a standard book, just a regular old comic book on Kickstarter, if you don't have a name behind you, it's not going to do well. If you're not out there marketing every day, it's not going to do well because it gets lost in the sea of boobs, right? You have a market for that. Well,
It's a boob eclipse.
it's a boob eclipse.
Yeah.
And so here was the problem. It turns out that with this particular campaign that they were running, that it wasn't Kickstarter that dropped them on there, but it was Stripe. Stripe saw their link, and they said that it was pornographic, and it went against one of the three things that they have. Three businesses that they're restricted.
Yeah.
One of those is drug related, anything drug paraphernalia, and then pornography, and then ironically crowdfunding, right? So if you're trying to be a crowdfunding site, you can't use them, with a few exceptions, right? So you have to prove that's why crowdfunding websites just aren't popping up all over the place.
Oh well.
Because it takes a lot of, it takes a lot to get that set up.
Back and forth with them.
But this caused a little bit of focus now to be turned to Fund My Comic as a new alternative choice for some of the Kickstarter group, right?
Nice.
Now, we haven't seen much love for the boob books at Fund My Comic. The people over there tend to focus more on story. That's really what they're interested in. And the most successful books don't have sexy images at all over there, which is kind of contrary to Kickstarter. But I bring this up because there's an article here and a couple articles floating around that have very different views on this topic. Some are praising Stripe for putting a crackdown on it, and they're thankful that there's going to be more of a chance for standard, like good old fashioned comics to be seen rather than the boob books, the boob covers, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the group that has made quite a good living off of the boob books that are very upset that this is infringing upon their freedom of creativity.
Yeah, freedom of expression.
What are your guys' thoughts on this?
Who wants to go first?
I don't think it's necessary to have all those boobs in.
Yeah.
It just underlines the point of what we're saying earlier about film, the second film, It's what people want, isn't it? It must be what they want. That's why the pornographic industry is so huge, because people want it. Simple as that. But I don't want boobs all over my comic, so to speak.
Yeah.
I want to just tell a good story and read a good story, And if it depends on that, I think you're doing the wrong thing.
I'm a firm believer in the marketplace. Let the marketplace settle it out. Unfortunately, with the way that comics have been the last 30 years, thanks to a monopolistic distributor and a group of guys that decide that they're going to go off on their own and use the circle template and triple D women as their primary selling point. That's the main market out there in comics right now, are guys that want to buy and look at that, or women that want to buy and look at that material. But it needs to be done well, and the market will settle out, shake out eventually down to quality titles. Yeah. But it's going to take a while. And putting up roadblocks like this, whether it's Stripe or the Czar deciding that they've had enough boob books on their platform or whatever, is just wrong, because the market needs to naturally shake that out.
On my point, like, I don't know, infringing on people's creativity like that, it's never a good thing.
Yeah.
People, they're selling books because people want them. Yeah. That's undeniable, just as Glenn said. But I don't think whining about my book is lost between a sea of boobs is the right attitude. Because in the end, you have control over what you do. So your marketing should be more aggressive. That's what you need to do. You gotta be more aggressive with your marketing. And having Stripe doing stuff like that always rubs me the wrong way. Is then they will say like, okay, you can have like horned devils in your comic book because Stripe. Then it's not gonna. I don't know. Like it's gonna be of the whim of somebody in charge, and you won't have control over your destiny. So I don't want to say like I'm team boobs because dude, like I'm making a boob that it looks sexy, but it's not gonna have like naked covers or whatever. Because I feel that doesn't really advance the story. You know, it's a cheap a cheap tool to make sales. And some people are here just to make sales and they don't care about story. That's their prerogative. Like I don't do that. But I don't think it's my right or anyone's right to keep them from doing that.
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the only thing that really rubs me the wrong way.
You do need an amount of censorship.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just run riot.
So that's because you can't trust people to use common sense and have a sense of public decency.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. So we acknowledge that.
Like,
so you can't.
Maybe a rating. You know what I mean? Like what Tipper Gore did with the parental advisory thing.
The banks won't allow it. So Stripe works with banks, and those banks, there's a higher, like insurance that they have to take out on that money when it has to do with drugs, pornography, or potential money laundering, which is the big issue with crowdfunding. Is a lot of people were using small pop-up sites as money laundering businesses, right? Yeah. So Stripe has to maintain a good relationship with their banks that they work with. Likewise, like me, I have to keep a good relationship with Stripe, or else we can't process. I think maybe it comes down to the approval process, understanding where the line is, what's acceptable. I think if you got mature content, if that's the only thing that sells your book, then maybe you really don't have a book.
Yeah.
I think that maybe you should have some story in there as well and focus in on that. It's just like if you have a politically motivated book and that's your only selling point, then you don't really have a book, really. You have an opinion, and that opinion is selling to a particular group right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, capitalize on that if I'm a free market kind of guy as well. If that, do that if that's what, but all of that will fade. It's not long term.
Look, I think you came up with a new genre, a graphic opinion. It's like, you don't have a comic, you have a graphic opinion. 72 pages.
I think it locks into that. It's an old chestnut, but I'll say it, that thing about where you can't show boobs, but you can show somebody being shot in the head.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That's the thing. Like
which is pornography. You know.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like
sexual
being
nature.
At the whim, being at the whims of the sensibilities of who's in charge. That's what's really dangerous here. Like the things, like I'm not gonna be like the boob advocate, like the memory lawyer. Like I don't want to be that guy. But having Stripe and doing the banks, and I understand why they're doing it. It's the insurance they have to take, the risk, whatever. Put that into account. Don't like make it impossible to do outright. Just make it like you want to do this, it's going to be more expensive because of this. You know what I mean? That there's solutions to that, but
you can create a whole other site just for that audience.
Yeah.
Yes, because I've considered it myself. But I was like, wait a second. Like from a business standpoint, when we were having a conversation, I was like, well, we could just set another site aside and use the payment processor that's for that. But I'm like, wait a second, that's not my moral standing. I'll let someone else do that. That's not for me.
Go to the Wetworks.
FMP.com. Fund my porn.
Fund my porn.
Wet comics. Moistcomics.com.
Yes, there's a smut tax. Definitely a smut tax for that.
Yes.
There you go.
But I think people have a hard time self-regulating or self-censoring these days, and so what they feel like is censorship. We used to just call it, public decency, like you said, decorum, and we have a harder time doing that. But so to move on from this topic,
Pornocomica.
Pornocomica.
Comica.
Yeah. To move on from this topic, it is kind of
Oh, got to trademark that name.
Yeah, it is kind of what people are talking about right now. But when I think of comic books and what got me in love with comics, it wasn't the
Little
boobs
Annie
on
Fanny?
the cover.
There weren't any, whether it's Randy
Wasn't the
Newman.
boobs on the?
Wicked Wanda.
And I remember as a
Yeah,
kid.
yeah, but Wicked Wonder wasn't a regular book, was it? That wasn't that in Playboy.
Yeah.
So
So I've talked.
Oh,
about
there
this
you go.
a lot.
He-Man. There's the ultimate porn
yeah.
book right there. Yeah,
No,
Look at those
He-Man
nipples.
was my. He-Man is what got me hooked with kind of action stuff, and then Ninja Turtles, and those bridged to comic books. And I am so happy to say that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Masters of the Universe will have a crossover this fall,
Nice.
September 25th, from Dark Horse. If any of you guys are looking for that special gift
Yeah.
for someone,
Nice. Why is Mikey wearing a wig though?
Turtles of Grayskull.
Yeah.
because he can.
Because
Yeah,
he can. 'Cause he can.
Yeah. This is
It's-
comics, guys.
Yeah, this is comics. So this is what got me. This is what got me hooked on comics early on, is properties like this. Here's some of the. That is not a great picture, but
that is a rather
Wow.
crappy look. Oh, it's Stan Sakai.
Ooh,
Holy
look at
crap.
me.
that's
Stan, what?
Stan.
What?
What are you doing to me, Stan?
Yeah,
What you
really.
doing, Stan? Whoa, whoa.
What's that? That's patterned after the old TMNT style. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. They're
I
trying
guess.
to copy it there.
Yeah.
But that cover's hot. That's nice.
Yeah, this
That's
is cool.
fire. Look at that.
That is great. Yeah.
Beautiful. Freddie E. Williams the second.
Okay.
I wonder if the first could draw as good as the second.
Not to be confused with the first or the
Or the
third.
third. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. But yeah, so exciting. So our topic today is superfans, and I wanted to focus a little bit on what it was that pulled you into comics, because what pulled me into comics, they're making a new comic about it. So Randy, let's start
Turtles.
with you.
Turtles and He-Man, huh? That's it.
Yeah, Turtles and He-Man got me started.
Good on Dark Horse for doing that too, and for coming up with something like that. That's a pretty good idea, I think. For me, it was the Duck books, the Carl Barks. I wasn't allowed to buy superhero comics for a while, but seeing how you can tell a story with pictures, and I used to take a bunch of comics up into the old treehouse in the backwoods and sit up there for hours just to get away from the parents and sit there and read. And that was it for me. So once I figured out that people did that, and that was all I needed to know, I started drawing. So,
And how old were you then? That was
wow, I don't know, 8, maybe 8, 9. I got a book from my uncle when I was 8 on how to draw Woody Woodpecker. Easy Way to Draw by the Lance Studios. It spoiled me for life, because when I took art classes later on in high school, they just shook their head and they says, you've already taught yourself a system how to draw, and in order for you to learn the instructor's method, I would have to unlearn what I already knew, pretty much. So they said,
Wow.
just keep doing your basic shapes. So,
Yeah.
And then I do that, or I did that up until the bug hit after school, to teach kids quick cartooning, because it's so easy just to put circles and curved lines together and make a character. And then once you've made a character, then your imagination can go, wherever.
that character can do anything and go anywhere.
Get all those emotions and stories out of you, and without harming anybody. It's all a good release.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it,
And,
guys. Release in the woods.
So so as you started to kind of hit your teen years, what's your
My teen years.
dang it, Pedro?
Yeah.
And everyone's gay once in a while.
Sorry. I just saw it.
It was me, wanting to learn more about comics and absorbing anything that I could at the library, which there wasn't much, but I stumbled across Comics Buyer's Guide. Once the parents let me have superhero books, I stumbled across the Comics Buyer's Guide, or the Buyer's Guide for Comic Fandom, I think it was first called. That was a weekly newspaper that had articles, and in fact, Jason's got a few copies. I've been meaning to get them from him so that we can go through them on a Sunday Funnies, because a lot of these collectors nowadays have no idea what a Comics Buyer's Guide used to be or used to do. But long before the internet, back when you had letters pages were almost your only form of communication. Comics Buyer's Guide was out there. They printed letters and columns and ads from collectors, and every once in a while you'd get a comic or a fan drawing. Terry Beatty did a lot of work for that for Comics Buyer's Guide back when, and I'd get it mailed to me every week, and I really got to look forward to seeing it. It was a regular tabloid newspaper that fluctuated in page size depending upon how big their ads were. But it was a great thing for me as a kid, especially without the internet, with limited resources at the library. I learned a lot about comics during that time. Then you picked up Comic Reader, Comics Journal, and just Comics Interview. All of those magazines, you just devour them, or I did at least. It was a lot of fun, and then discovered Eisner, and everything was off from there, Spirit magazine
became a lifelong obsession, right?
Yeah.
This love affair with comics.
Comics kept me sane, though, because I was raised in a very restrictive religion that I couldn't make a lot of sense out of. So, but comics were my escape valve. Especially, and back then there were only 4 channels if you were lucky on the television, 5 if you had a good enough antenna.
Right? Yeah. That aluminum foil hanging off to the side.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And all the good stuff was on the
window.
independent station out of Detroit that you could never see.
Randy, did your parents ever make you stand next to the TV for the signal?
No.
What's the game, boy? Stand there, hold the antenna.
I was a remote.
That was usually Dad's job. He'd get up. He was Dad was an electronic whiz, so he'd get up and take the tin foil and make the origami string and all of this and set it up. And then once it was set, you couldn't get close to it. You couldn't get near it. Couldn't touch it.
Yeah, because it disrupted.
It's good to go.
Yeah, I was their remote control.
Yeah.
Luke, change the channel. I'm changing the channel.
Saturday mornings, though, that was me. That was
okay.
All the way through the afternoon. My mom used to have to push me out of the house, but she knew not to bother me when the science fiction movie was on. Started at noon, ran for a couple hours. Yeah, got to see a lot of great stuff that way.
I was the remote too, but I had a name when I was the remote, which was Cabeza, which means head, because me and my brother was stand like closer to the like Cabeza, come here,
Cabeza.
Like head,
Peña Cabeza.
Jesus, head, change the channel, head.
Peña Cabeza.
Yeah, Cabeza de Peña. That would be
Cabeza Peña.
Yeah. Hey, change the channel.
Hey, pineapple head. Glenn, Peña means pineapple.
I know.
Okay, just I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because the imperial, the imperial language, they don't really tend to learn other languages. They're like, no, we're dominant. You learn ours.
Some countries call it anana.
Anana?
Piña. Yeah, it's like it's an anana. It's like what?
Like that's what are they?
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to say banana with no B's.
Yeah, exactly. Banana.
They're a banana head. They're a banana head.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yes.
There you go.
Glenn, how about you? What got you hooked on this medium?
I am so grateful to have lived when I lived, because when I was a kid, television was coming in, comics were coming in. I was watching all this science fiction stuff like Doctor Who, and I consider Jason and the Argonauts a science fiction film. It's probably not, but I consider it is.
One of the best. Yeah.
Jason and the Argonauts was the first film I saw at the cinema without my parents.
Oh,
okay.
Dude.
And it's still when I watch Thunderbirds, when I see that fire flash coming into Thunderbirds, I'm 10 years old again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not screaming. I'm just there engrossed. But I was around at a fantastic time because I had two older brothers, you see, so they always had a bit of cash, and they would bring home the comics. They'd bring home the Eagle with Dan Dare. They'd bring Beano, Topper, Hotspur. You've probably not heard of these comics. I would have this ready-made pile of comics that I just used to devour, and because I can draw, I'd start copying them, because it was easy to me to copy these cartoon characters. And then the Outer Limits came on, Twilight Zone, all these, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., all this fantastic Star Trek, all this fantastic television landed right in my head, and I could draw and I could tell a story. So I started drawing comics, and then the story Kirby came. My brother brought Strange Tales 136 home with Kirby on the layouts of S.H.I.E.L.D. and John Severin drawing it, and John Severin I'd seen in Mad magazine. I didn't know his name in Mad, but I could recognize the style. And then I said to my brothers, is there any more of these things? And they're bringing this stuff home for me. And they brought Spider-Man. And then I'd be watching Star Trek, and I'd be watching, Land of the Giants and Lost in Space and all these fantastic programs. So my head, by age 12, was just completely Americana, right? Man from U.N.C.L.E., Lost in Space, and the space program was going on, the real space program, so there was that as well. And then I started to read Arthur Clarke and Isaac Asimov and Philip Dick. I started absorbing all this stuff, and it sort of turned me into me. I don't know, but I'm really lucky, and I feel this is an age thing. I think I'm getting old. I feel sorry for the kids because they just seem to be locked into their little phones all the time. Like, just as an aside, I'm the awkward old git who doesn't get out of the way on the street when somebody's got their head in their phone. I let them walk into me, but that's a different thing. There doesn't seem to be the expression or the want to express in storytelling, in art, in music. It's just my opinion. And speaking of music, my music is David Bowie, the Beatles, the Beach Boys, America, Kate Bush, the best, the Who,
the
rock and roll, the Stones, Eagles, you name it.
I just named my music too, Glenn.
Well, I'm telling you what I think. I don't know about you.
I love that stuff. I love that stuff, man.
Yeah, and it's the best.
You're right. It is. Stuff in the 80s, there's a few good things in the 80s, but it really started to, with a lot of some of the electronic music, started to get dry, because I think people heard it and they just wanted to be famous. I think people hungered fame more than they had something to produce. And that's why you have influencers now. These are just people that want to be famous for giving their opinion.
Yeah, for being famous.
Well, years ago, John Lennon was asked what he wanted to be. And he said he wanted to be rich and famous in that order. Which I think is a brilliant response.
That was 40 years ago, a couple of years ago.
That was
That was a little bit over 40 years ago when he said that, right?
I think it was about 1964 when he said that.
Yeah.
Just the Beatles getting to the top. But you see, I missed Elvis. Even I'm not old enough to remember Elvis first time around. He came about the year I was born. But I'm not an Elvis fan, but I can see his contribution. And it's one of those things, it's like, people say to me, who's better, the Beatles or the Elvis? I said, well, if you don't have Elvis, you don't have the Beatles. And if you don't have Muddy Waters and those people, you don't have Elvis, that R&B stuff, So it all goes back to the Garden of Eden again, it all goes back and all that. And but getting back to the comics thing, I'm just fortunate. I just think I'm fortunate to have lived when I lived. I'm grateful for that. I've had a great time. I've had some shit times as well, but I've had a lot of good times. And comics and that kind of outlet, writing books, which I do as well, make little mini films and all this kind of thing. I mean, 2001, I was 13. Boom, just stuff like that. Still one of the best films ever made. And I've just been really lucky. And
just I like to watch some of those old, like how they got the practical effects that they did with foreshortening and different techniques. And
Yeah.
just so creative.
Giant spiders.
And
You know,
building
and
gargantuan props.
Yeah,
Because
you know,
the lens were not playing.
computers have obviously made life easier in
Of
the
course,
ability
yeah.
to
And
do those
anybody
things
can
easier. But
anybody can tend to do it. But if you look at Stanley Kubrick, one of the greatest directors ever, he created the tracking camera so that he could do those shots in 2001 when the ship's going to the moon. Because if you watch it, it never actually goes over the moon. It's just a mat. It's just cut in. And he wanted a shot in his head, and he created the camera to do it. I mean, how good is that? I mean, he's an inventor as well. You know.
Well, Walt Disney knew what he wanted to do with animation, and he invented a thing to do it, and it has become the thing. Like,
there's a really
Pedro?
cool. There's a really cool.
Wait,
story.
Randy, wait. The
He's got a
multiplane
rant for a
camera,
second.
the multiplane camera, which was credited to Walt Disney, was invented by Ubiworks. You want to see the first use of the multiplane camera, which allows you to do the parallax effect, which was like 3D back in the time. Look for The Adventures of Sinbad by Ubiworks.
Fleischer Studios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ubiworks used to work at the Walt Disney Studios,
see it.
and Walt Disney
there.
took
Yeah.
his patent, and instead of making it horizontal, he made it vertical. But it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't want to like speak ill of the dead.
He stole it, but he made it better.
Yeah, that he did. Oh, that he did. But
Yeah, he improved it. Yeah,
I don't even know
he
if
made it better. Right?
it was Disney as much as some of the Imagineers that Disney had underneath.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, like
Some great people over there.
Probably came into the Disney organization and they said it works better if you tilt it. Yeah.
So,
to me,
Glenn,
he was like
both.
not Bill Gates, the other guy, the guy from Apple. What's the name?
Oh
Steve
yeah,
Jobs? Steve Jobs.
Yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Jobs,
To me, Disney was like Steve Jobs. Like, hey, I want this in
Yeah.
8 months. Get on it, and then he left.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Yeah, that's kind of what I am with like Fund My Comic. I want this, and then someone else does it,
Yeah.
and,
Get on it.
and then I get to take credit for it. But also, when things don't work, I get to take the blame for it.
Exactly.
So, Glenn, Hojo was saying that he has a very similar story, that he was introduced through video of these things and found out they had books. So in 1990, I'm 10 years old. I love the Ninja Turtles, right? And it's my birthday, May 5th. And we hardly ever do anything for my birthday. We would do a cake, or whatever. But we had just moved to a place called Lakeland, Florida. I didn't have any friends. I was having a hard time making friends with the neighbor kids. They, I was new. They were mean. I wasn't as endearing as I am now. Glenn laughs. He gets it. So, it's my birthday. We do a little cake. I get a new toy. 10th birthday. And they say, hey, get in the car. We've got somewhere to go. I'm like, okay. It's getting dark. And we start pulling up this movie theater. And this is what I see.
There you are.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the best one, actually. The first one was great.
I was absolutely speechless.
Mm-hmm.
I still get goosebumps
Nice.
thinking about
You see, when
that
I
moment.
when I see that, the Turtles title and the Turtles coming out of the grid I don't see that. I see that fantastic Fish Islands on the building, like Empire State Building there. I don't care about that. Turtles to me are just forget it. I've never read it. Don't want to know. But look at that photography there of those buildings. That's what
I fell in love with
me.
that stuff later. And
that lovely sky. Look at that sky going from that pinky red all the way through to that bluey grey.
Gorgeous
How
poster.
good is that?
So well done. And all they did is just had to poke those little puppet heads up, right?
So all I do is just I'm covering up those guys now. What a fantastic photograph that is! A fantastic image it is.
But I had no idea. I had no idea that you could make them real on film.
They're
I was
not
like,
real,
are they real?
Luke, they're not real.
Right, but you know what I mean. For a 10-year perspective, that it wasn't a cartoon, that it wasn't a drawing. Like, I had no idea that you could even do that.
That's the same kind of twinkle in the eye that those of Glenn at my age got when we saw Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah,
or the Thunderbirds. Like you guys,
the
Thunderbirds.
You will believe this, but a guy I used to work with, who was probably he's about 50 now. He's younger than me, and he said he said, "Oh, Thunderbirds is on again on Saturday morning. It hadn't been on for a while." So I said, "Oh, you've got to watch it." He'd never seen it. I said, "You've got to watch it."
Yeah.
And when he came in on the Monday, he said, "You could see the strings."
Exactly. That's all I can see when I see the Thunderbirds. It's strings.
That's the point. You know what I mean? I'm speechless now. I was speechless then, and I'm speechless now.
You missed the entire point of the show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, you missed the
That's
point.
the thing. Like, but the point is, like, just as you're making fun of Luke for loving the Turtles, like that was his time. Your time was the Thunderbirds. If I see the Thunderbirds now, it's before my time. So all I see is strings. Like, because you get used to something else. I mean, when it's my turn to say, you might make fun of me because it's like a poor story, like all my stories.
Well, let's hear it, Face.
Well, Thunderbirds is they are marionettes. You know, they're not puppets. They are marionettes.
Marionettes. Yeah.
Listen. What you're missing, obviously, Fendo, is
Super Marionation.
Is the fantastic machines and stories and everything else. Never mind the strings.
That was the whole point. You watch that pilot. You watch the pilot for Thunderbirds. After a while, you don't even notice the strings. You don't notice the fact that only their bottom lips moving and that they're circling around as they're walking. Yeah.
Pedro, have you seen the Fireflash land in the first episode?
Hey, there you go.
You've got to watch that.
I love the Thunderbirds, and I love Captain Sky, and I love
Captain
Scarlet.
Yeah.
I love all that, but the thing is, like, I understand why somebody who was born in the 80s sees that and would only see strings. I do get that the stories are fantastic. The action, I mean, within the limits of the action they could do at that time, because I mean, making a puppet movie is very difficult. Not puppet, marionettes. And the guy from South Park, like they said, that we're never doing this again. They did Team America War Police just for yucks, and they almost died.
Yeah.
How expensive it was, how difficult it was, how they couldn't screw the shots, because screwing the shot was like hundreds of thousands of dollars to reshoot. So yeah, craft wise, it's just insane, and those guys did it more than once.
Yeah. Not just that, but the design work on the on all of the weaponry. And stuff.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Dude, like you were always wondering which machine they were going to use, like number 1, number 2, number 3.
That Fireflash design of that aircraft is it's just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Really close to the supersonic jet. I think they used that. Whoever designed the supersonic jet saw the Firefly when they were a kid and said, "I'm doing that." Yeah.
So,
there was a lot of genius engineering done on those shows. A lot more than people, want to recognize.
How about me? My story starts in a little village surrounded by bananas. No, actually, we don't have comic book shops down here. The closest thing we have is hobby shops. They're very expensive and they smell funny, so kids don't really go there. So my journey started really with TV. And also, we don't produce our own content. We do like variety shows and whatnot. So we import a lot of stuff. So one of the TV stations, just because they were being cheap, they bought this compendium of anime from Chile called Festival de los Robots. It was like the robot festival. And that had like Gaikin, Messenger said, it had the name Steel Jig. It was like 6 different shows. So from 3 a.m. to 5 p.m., you will watch only anime, robot anime. And dude, that got me hooked. I was just watching over and over and over. And it's like, oh my God, yeah. And I started like drawing robots. And that's, going back to the boob thing. When I was in school, I was one of the 3 kids who could draw better. So I draw robots and boobs. Those were the 2 commissions I got.
Yeah, I made a lot of money drawing boobs for kids at school.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, but I don't know. I know comics exist, but they're not on my radar.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm 14, my brother, who's like a year and a half older than me, he got this like summer job at a paper mill with some family, and he comes back home like, hey, you bro, here's a box of discarded comics. I mean, you can get comics down here in pharmacies. So the pharmacy was getting rid of their overstock, and I got like 250 like different comics.
Did they cut the
What a
logo
haul.
off of the cover?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
They
how
cut
they
the-
got their returns noted. Yeah, and then they took
Yeah.
the actual comic, just tossed it in a box. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got all this like 250 comics, all in disorder, and I got almost the full Bastion run from the X-Men. It
Oh,
was
neat.
almost full there. I got the
The
Bravura
fall,
Breed,
which run from the X-Men?
Bastion when they were fighting Bastion.
Bastion, yeah.
Don't remember.
Yeah, it's like
Characters
early 90s.
Oh,
It's
Jim
like
Lee
80s.
material? Is
It
that
was a
what
good
we're
run.
talking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Jim Lee.
Okay.
It was Jim Lee. I got a lot of Malibu comics. I got the Bravura Breed. These are like a 6-issue miniseries. That's the first complete miniseries I read. It's not famous, but it's dear to my heart. And then I saw like something different from anime. Like, okay, the faces are more intricate here. The action is different, and that really influenced me. Like, so I got a lot of X-Men. I got Breed. I got Heroes for Hire. I got Shang-Chi. There was DC in that box. Dude, I love that box. DC, I had a lot of Superman, a lot of Superboy, some Teen Titans, a little bit of New Gods. But I'm not picking them up. They're just there, and I just read them. And I couldn't make like shoe from foot with most of the stories, which is they were coming from stories. I couldn't get issues or whatever. Like I didn't know. Like I didn't know how to get like prior books or the new books. So incorporating that basically changed the way I grew, because my brother worked in a paper recycling mill. And
That's awesome, man.
There you are. Yeah.
then when I grew up and I was studying law at law school, I never stopped drawing.
Wait,
And, yeah,
you studied law?
4 years, sir. I'm almost.
How is
a
it that
lawyer.
I've known you for like 2 years, and this is the first time I've heard you say that you studied law?
I don't talk that much about it.
Is it
It was
Panamanian law?
That's what
Oh no, I
So
was
it's not like real law.
It's not like real law. Yeah, the thing is,
I'm
like, you
sorry.
guys actually the real law is down here because you guys use common law, so it's like almost hearsay. We do have laws down here. We have codes. So yeah, but that's the thing. Like it was a 5-year career. I made 4 years, and I was on the brink of suicide and doing drugs just to keep awake. And,
That's terrible.
Yeah, it was a sad point in my life. I don't want to bring the show
I'm sorry to
down.
hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, I realized I didn't want to do this, and I was living somebody else's dream, which was basically my father. My father is an economist and a lawyer. And when they asked me, like, what do I want to do? I said, I don't know. It was like, well, then you're going to study law. I was like, but I hated it. But I never stopped drawing during law school. And actually, I made like a comic book. I don't know where that is now, about like drug dealers, because I was living in Colombia and it was almost like a Scarface, but it was very dark because I was in a weird place. So once I said like, okay, this is not what I want. I went to Vancouver to study animation, and then the teacher says like, don't go into comics. There's no money in there.
Yeah.
Well,
So
they ain't lying.
yeah, so that was my attitude towards comics up until the pandemic, when I met you guys, and now I'm here making comics. So
Now you're here making comics.
yeah,
So, do you guys remember the first comic you ever made?
yeah,
I do.
I do.
Glenn, tell me about it.
The first comic I made was called The Spitfire, and we got it. Me and my friend Paul Cook, we had a series called The Monsters from the Black Bog, and I could draw them for you now. And we produced this comic, and I think I told Randy this story before. I may have told you, Luke. We were 8 years old, me and Paul, best buddies. We just started to read TV 21 with Thunderbirds in it and Captain Scarlet, all that. Well, Captain Scarlet later, and the Trigon Empire, right? Don Lawrence, the Trigon Empire. So and Paul could draw as well. Maybe not as well as I could, but he could draw. So we used to draw, and I used to go over his pencil work in biro, right? We used to pencil and ink. We didn't know we were penciling and inking, but we do you understand? We knew we were doing it, but we didn't know we were doing it. Do you understand what I mean?
Right, yeah.
You know,
instinctively, you just did it, yeah.
And we produced this comic called The Spitfire, and it was 12 pages in full color, colored in with colored biro. So imagine that, right? And I always remember, there's one story I always remember really vividly. I used to always be down at Paul's house because he had a G.I. Joe, not an Action Man, a G.I. Joe thing.
Yeah.
He had all the different kits, white helmets and a white M1 rifle and boots and all that. So I used to
back when G.I. Joe was 12 inches tall.
That's right. And we used to play with that, and we used to watch Jason and the Argonauts and all that. He came with me on that day to the pictures to see it.
Yeah.
And the story about the Spitfire was we did a couple of issues, and I always remember very vividly, we'd be 8 or 9, Sunday afternoon, I was in his house, in his front room, and we were lying on the floor drawing and writing and drawing and colouring it in, and his grandma was there. And his grandma said to him, Paul, what are you doing? He said, me and Glenn are drawing this comic. And he showed her, and she said, Paul Cook, you're a liar. You've not done this. You're a liar. And I got sent home, and he got sent to bed for lying because she couldn't believe. I'm not saying it was any good, but she couldn't believe that we'd done it.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't accept it, and it's always stuck in my mind. And it's. But yeah, I've still got some stuff from when I was 14. The earliest actual drawing I've got was saved. Was a lunar module when I was 12. Because all that was going on. I've got quite a bit of artwork from over the times, but I do have some of the comics I did when I was 14. Yeah, nice. Which I've shown you before. Randy's seen the covers, haven't you? You've seen it before.
Randy, do you remember the first one you did?
Wait a second.
My first comic character was Harry the Hairy Hippie. Yeah, it's the guy whose hair covered up all of his face, and he had a little nose that stuck out. My first superhero was a Captain America ripoff. I was calling Acro Boy. He was an acrobatic kid with a round shield with an A on it.
Pedro's got a comment. I can see what's going on.
The thing's I heard Glenn's story, and then he got sent home, but I just pictured the mom ranting at this little 8-year-old kid "You're talented. I hate you. You're ugly."
Yeah. There's no way you did this.
There's no way you did it. Yeah.
The thing is that, like I said, the thing is that Paul got sent to bed on Sunday afternoon at 3:00, and I got sent home because I was in cahoots with him. I was lying with him.
Because you did something good,
and we weren't lying. We did do it. I just wish I had it now. I mean, I'm not saying it would be
better eat your meat.
It wouldn't be any good, but
I want to keep hugging Paul and tell him everything's going to be all right.
Don't get any pudding if you don't eat your meat.
Did she eventually realize that you guys had done it?
I don't remember. I never saw her again. I don't know.
She went to the grave
and sent home, huh?
Yeah. But let's get back to Randy's Harry the
Hairy Hippie. Yeah.
That sounds like it's
like Cousin It with a hot dog sticking out instead of a nose.
Randy, that sounds exactly like something that I would expect you to make.
Yeah.
How old were you when you come up with that?
Probably 8 or 9. When I was a kid at 12, I was in 7th grade. I drew a comic about the history of dairy farming, and it freaked my science teacher. Loved it. Took me forever to get that back out of her hands. She gave me a AA plus on the thing because it was funny. But my mom, that's one of the few things that my mom actually hung on to for decades and wouldn't let me have. I didn't get it until after she passed. So, but awesome. I was shocked that she still had it in her cedar chest as a keepsake.
After Mom passed, some of my family has some of my artwork. I want to hear from Pedro first before I share this, though. Pedro, what was you come to comics in 2020, right?
Yeah.
So your first comic was Tropical Magics, right?
No. I have.
Oh, okay.
And I did make a horrible comic. It's not that the drawings were horrible. It's just that the story was a reflection of my state of mind at the time. So I don't really like consider it my first comic, but technically it is. And it was about this hitman drug dealer. It was just dark because my mind was in a dark place.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I was putting like my friend from class like as characters, so they really loved that. But people thought I was nuts. Like, what are you doing? Because this guy was like killing everybody, women, kids, priests, and I don't know. I'm not proud of it, but I can't deny I did it. I don't know where it is.
That was
Well,
very
this is-
therapeutic, though. It got
Yeah.
it got your emotions out and onto paper. That's
Kept
a
you
big
from
thing.
doing it.
There's,
right.
there's one.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
mean,
nice.
Oh, look
Like
at that.
Diamond
dude.
Unmasked. Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
got-
so it
I've
was-
got-
it was
I've still
like
got them all,
pretty-
you know. Still got them all.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
I made like 47 pages of
That's
it.
cool. Yeah.
These
in
are these
pencil
are,
and ink.
these are all 16 pages, and they're all coloured with felt tip pens, you know. But I'm quite proud of that. Age 14, I think it's quite good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That's a nice hand for 14.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm always going on about hand lettering, because I do all the lettering as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's great.
So
I was thinking of putting them together and publishing them.
You should, as kind of like a retrospect on.
But look at the
on
Rusty
Glenn.
Staples. Look, can you see them?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh
We
my
can
God,
see those.
dude.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That looks like a World War II document with those staplers.
Yeah. So I remember I was 12 or 13, and I told my mom I wanted to make comics, and so I had drawn some different characters, and she goes, and mom had done some writing in her day, and so she was like, well, write a story. Like, let's come up with she helped me understand how to write a story, put a story together. And so we had some paper laying around. I had construction paper, 8.5 by 11. And so I had enough to fold that and make a 12-page comic. Right. So we, or 16 page. Yeah, 16. No, 12, because we had just enough, to do 12 pages. And so I stapled, so we folded that in half. And then I went through and drew the story that, that we had, and that she helped me kind of come up with, and then I didn't have like regular like inking pens, so I used a believe it or not a black Bic pen to do all the inking.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know how they got the colors in the comic books.
Yeah.
This was like 92, right? So that really shiny coloring was starting to be the thing.
The liquid.
And I didn't have like watercolor or colored pencils. Or I had a few colored pencils, but I didn't have all the colors I wanted. But I had pastels. So I used some pastels and some colored pencils and did like a mixed media thing. And I colored the whole thing. Once I was done, and lettered it. I hand lettered Glenn the whole thing. We told the story, and then I had one more page to make the cover, so I could do a cover and my credit sheet, and then I made a fake ad for the back. I mean, I was trying to go all out for this thing, right? And I didn't have a name, and my mom was like, well, she helped me come up with the name Future Defenders of Modern Earth. And we called it F-Dome for short. Terrible name. Terrible name.
Go ahead.
F-Dome.
And F-Dome. And so I remember putting this thing together, and I just showed everybody. I was pleased as could be.
Get your
And,
F on. Yes.
yeah.
What was like the
And I
motto,
was
like,
so happy
get your
for like
F on.
I was so happy for like 3 days, and then I hated it because I was like, I could do all of this better now. Now I have to redraw the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's the bane of our existence.
one heartbreaking story for you from my early career. Just before I produced these Black Diamond comics, so I'd be 12 or 13 again. and I wrote and drew a science fiction sort of. It was sort of based on Agents of Shield and the Man from Uncle. It was a spy thing, but it was science fiction, and it was 22 pages, right? It was full color, all written and hand lettered and drawn by me. It was 22 pages. Took me months to do it, right? And when I finished it, I took it to school, and they had a stapler, and they stapled it together and all that for me. And I brought it back, and I showed my mum. She said, "What are you doing there?" And I said, "Look at this, Mum. I've done this comic," because she pretty much ignored me most of the time, so she wouldn't know what I was doing anyway. But I said, "I've done this comic," and she didn't even take it. I gave it to her, offered it to her, and she said to me, "You won't get a job doing that." And then so I said, "All right, great. Not well done," or she didn't even touch it. She just said, "You won't get a job doing that." And then the next day, or maybe that day, I'm not sure. The next day, shortly after, my older brother, my middle brother, I showed him, and his response was to rip it up.
Oh,
Man,
were you raised in Panama, man?
Do what?
So
Were you raised in Panama?
no, that's just a brother thing. So you talked about all these things that you had saved over the years. Like, we've lost and moved everything, so many times. And when my dad passed, I got a box of things that he had saved, and in that box, of all things, was this little container of pastels.
Oh wow!
Oh, nice.
And it was
your stories are so uplifting, man. I remember. You remember this friend? Like, he's a singer.
Somehow my dad had saved those pastels through moving and losing everything, and yeah. So I still have the pastels that I used to color F-Dome. So.
Dude, I remember, like, we had this friend who was like a singer. Like, he wanted to be a ballad singer, but we told him, like, dude, you're too ugly to sing ballads. That was, and the thing was, like, we're all together, like, at this, like, it was like a beachfront thing, and it's like, "Hey guys, here's my first CD." And my brother grabbed the CD and threw it in the water.
You're too ugly for ballads. Gotta sing metal.
Ballads. Wow.
Gotta sing punk.
Yeah, the thing is, like, it's so vivid how everybody was laughing, and that guy was on the verge of tears, and then he started laughing too, because, like, the situation was. But that's the thing with brotherly love. Like, we're mean to each other, but
oh yeah,
these are memories. Like, we still, like, get together and we laugh at that. Remember when you threw that CD in
yeah, that's so funny.
the river?
So there's this article here by Clive Dodge over on
That's
Comics
a made-up
Illustrated.
name.
It has to be. But he's talking about the situation with Nick Rakita, how that's kind of gone toxic, and then what happened with Pisker. And so he's talking about kind of ways to not become a toxic fan. Do you guys think that toxic fandom is a thing?
Nope.
I'll tell you what I think. I kind of think that I don't think the fandom is. I think that fans, individual people, can become toxic.
Yep.
That's what I think. And I think that it can happen to anybody. I think that anybody can fall victim to this. And I think that they can have moments of toxicity, and then they can, like, self-correct or whatever. But then I think that sometimes people get lost because they see other people they admire being toxic. And so they just jump into this kind of mob mentality. But this guy writes this article, and he makes some points that I feel are worth sharing. And I just want us to discuss them for the next 10 minutes or so. So here are some points that he says. So this is how to avoid becoming a toxic fan. And his first one is realize you aren't owed anything. That one of the things he says here is before you tag someone or whatever, you realize that artists who have a social media presence are there to communicate with their fans, but on their own terms. That you shouldn't expect. And it says, They are there to get you excited about their newest project and respond to comments as their schedule allows. Patience and politeness do go a long way, but please don't take it personal if they don't respond to you. Because there's this idea that their time is owed. You know, it's like, well, why didn't you respond to me? I'm a fan. I pay your bills. There's this kind of entitlement thing.
Yeah.
And so kind of the core of what he's saying there is this, you know, don't feel like you're entitled to anything. That those people are there to, that's a courtesy that they are making themselves available to you, the fan, you know, and that they get to choose how they engage in their time. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Have you seen people fall into that?
Yeah, the way I see it, the whole thing about like I pay your bills, like, dude, you're not paying my bills. You're buying my product. You're getting a product.
Yeah.
And it's an equal transaction.
Making a trade, yeah.
Yeah, you're not really like entitled to my time like that. I mean, but it's all about, you know. I mean, I'm going to say this word again, decorum. Like there are ways to approach this kind of stuff, and the thing like he's talking here about like toxicity. It's not that people get toxic, like people get mad all the time. It's the amplification of social media. Like when somebody's mad, then somebody's and then it becomes like a huge avalanche of nothing.
Dogpiling.
Yeah, and in the end, it's like you got to be very, very.
Well,
like,
he actually brings that up too.
Yeah,
he brings that up too. So his second point is, don't be a poser. Misspelled there.
Yeah.
He said, I asked an indie pro wrestler friend why he didn't do conventions, and he told me I don't want to pretend to be something that I'm not. You should do the same. Even if you read a lot of industry sites and the Jablonski, I like it, I said Jablonski instead of Jabroni. Jablonski behind the counter at your brick and mortar shop gives you a logical sounding opinion. You are not an insider. You are either a retailer or a fan online, and you need to stick to that role. The artist is doing you a favor by taking the time to talk to you, not the other way around. It's the height of arrogance to think that you are any better than anyone else and post insults or passive-aggressive jokes.
Good on the women there.
Yeah, I just kind of just says it right there, right? Like, don't be a poser. You know, don't stay in your lane. You know, and I've learned this, that there's a lot of people that have opinions about what we do. You know, Glenn, you were saying earlier, some people think that this job is easy just because you do it.
Yeah.
Well, if Glenn can do it, then, but they're not inside. They don't know what it's like on this side of things.
Especially if Glenn can do it. I mean,
if Glenn can do it,
anyone can.
And anybody can do it.
Attention has been paid.
Yeah.
Talent has nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it whatsoever.
I mean, it's Glenn.
I wrote my first book when I was 8 years old. It was about Stingray, Jerry Anderson's Stingray. 20 pages in a notebook for an 8-year-old is pretty good, I think.
I mean, it's 8-year-old Glenn. Give that into account. Sorry, man. Go ahead.
I love you, Pet. And there's nothing you can do about it.
No. As hard as I tried, Jesus.
Fan, by definition, is a derogatory term. It refers to being a fanatic, which means you become a thing ruled by that which you venerate. It is incredible that the term fan became a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Remember that Wesley Snipes movie with Robert De Niro? When Robert De Niro was like the super fan?
Oh, yeah. Jerry Lewis.
Good, yeah.
Jerry
King
Lewis.
of comedy. King of comedy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good film, though.
Yeah.
I don't think there's toxic fandom. I think there's passionate fandom, especially when their entertainment's being trounced on intentionally by people that want to make a statement or do a political position that they resent. But I think the real toxicity, especially in this art form, is in the inside the industry more than in the fandom. It's these people with the whisper networks and that decide that they're going to go out and cancel people and make people's lives difficult, go out and do torturous interference on people's lives and livelihoods just because they voted the wrong way or have a different political opinion.
Yeah.
That's the toxic. That's the crab mentality of these idiots in a bucket that aren't talented enough, that see other people as more talented, that want to drag them down to their level or below in order to make themselves feel superior.
Yeah, I think that's not really about the fandom at all, is it?
Yeah, that's got nothing to do with fandom.
It's not about the thing you love at all.
Right.
This one I like. This one. Women in the industry aren't looking for a hookup. So don't be a creep, enough said. Some of them are looking to hook up to move up, but the majority of people that of the women that are talented artists and writers that are coming into this scene that want to do good work, that are especially found in indie comics, they are not looking for a hookup. And I find that fans, quote unquote fans, or simps, like I have seen this where they're more concerned with the possibility of garnering their sexual attention than enjoying their work or their content that they make.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing.
And
men don't have this.
Another thing that you have to keep in mind is we come from 30 plus years of this so-called direct market where the distributor Diamond Marvel has focused, and Marvel and DC have also focused on one incredibly small demographic, which is mostly men, mostly white, mostly 25 to 55. And that's a whole set of hormone rages that when you try to open the market up to a wider audience, it literally gets in the way and can get in the way. There's a market for those for that product, absolutely, but they need to make the more product that appeals to other people and other demographics, other than tearing down what's already there.
Right.
Because that destroys the business instead of building it up.
Yeah, but I've learned a lot of people that are artists or into comics, guys, are really bad at talking to girls. They don't understand.
Oh.
That's because they spend all their time doing comics.
Yeah, and they don't see many girls, so when they see them, they think, oh, here's my chance to find a mate for life, right? And so I find that they come across aggressive. I've seen this at conventions, like, and I could always tell the guys that are going to come across as creepy, and sometimes it's not because they want to, it's just because they have no game,
socially inept. Yeah,
right. Yeah, and so I find that kind of gets problematic for women in this industry,
but
because they've got these people stumbling over themselves,
especially when you mix it with after-hour parties where everybody's supposed to socially mingle.
But not only that,
alcohol.
Not only that, because the thing is, like, I think education, it's breeding the sexes to hate each other. It's really easy to piss off a lady, especially if you're being yourself, especially if you're not interested in her. Like, it's really easy to piss her off. And then you pair it up with what you're saying, that the guy.
Well, some people have that problem, Pedro. I've never had a problem with a lady being upset that I didn't pay her attention.
The thing is that to me, getting a lady upset, it's sexual energy. It's like, oh, I got her. But.
Well, you have to be hot for that to happen, and that might be a problem for you and Glenn, but
the thing is, like, it's been stated that none of us
never been a problem for me
in sing ballads, but. I do have not like the greatest record with the ladies, but I don't have.
You're hurting my feelings here.
Yeah, I don't have problems talking to them, but some people do. Like, they see a girl, and the only thing they can think, vulva. And
Nerd Wonder's trying to figure out what you're talking about.
Yeah,
she thinks that maybe you're in a vacuum with your thoughts here.
No, not really. Well, I've been living on my own for 3 years. Like the thing is, like, there are people that are socially awkward, men and women, and this medium, it's a shelter for most of them. So the interactions are going to be very safe. That's all I'm saying.
It means you're a catcher, not a pitcher.
Oh, just speak for yourself, Luke. I get young ladies on Twitter following me left and right. They link in bio says they want me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yes, they do. They certainly do.
I want you to look at their OnlyFans and subscribe.
Yeah.
What it is.
So this one says, here's his other point. With great power. So some actors use stage names and writers use pen names. If you accidentally stumble upon a comic creator or performer's personal account, move on. These profiles generally don't have as many followers and so on and so forth. I find a lot of people do try to protect their real name. Dolly Parton doesn't use her real name. Like Dolly Parton is her stage name, and I heard rumor that she's not even a blonde, that those are all wigs, and that she's really a brunette, and that if you see her walking around Pigeon Forge, you wouldn't even recognize her and her husband because she's so unassuming.
Yeah.
Because she wanted to keep her private life private.
Okay.
I see a lot of people do this, and I see a lot of more prominent people not actually have personal social medias or be on social media at all. There's this really funny story about Dave Chappelle trying to sign up for Twitter, and they said, you can't sign up, you can't impersonate a celebrity. He's like, but I am Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, exactly.
But there was already somebody using that name. And he said the problem was, so he goes to the profile and looks at it, and he goes, the problem was they were funny. And so he was following them.
Yeah.
And he would check in on them every day. And then one day he said he goes off script. Fake Chappelle goes off script and starts going at Cat Williams. Well, Cat Williams, being Cat Williams, can't let that be. And so Cat Williams started going at him on Twitter, right? At Fake Chappelle. And like they were beefing. He said, I was at a show. And Cat was gonna be there. So I go by, find Cat, and I say, hey Cat, can we talk? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, not with your buddy here. Let's go quiet, go private. So he goes off and he says, hey Cat, I don't have a Twitter account. He goes, so what? He goes, neither do I.
Yeah.
He said it was Fake Chappelle and Fake Cat Williams had a Twitter beef.
That's hilarious.
And he says the problem was Fake Cat Williams was funnier than Fake Chappelle.
Yeah, dude. Like that's the thing. Like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's
not
so
reality.
Easy,
Yeah.
It's so easy to get lost in all that noise. That
Yeah.
See,
Here's another one.
Man.
Know your rhetoric. Here's a slapdash lesson in rhetoric for you. Logos are appeals to one's logic, usually supported with precedent evidence. Pathos are emotional appeals, the feels. And ethos are appeals to the listener's sense of right and wrong. These three are not interchangeable, though it feels like an appalling number of internet users are guilty of trying to make them thus. In so doing, they form into gooey green internet trolls who are nowhere near as fun to be around as Shrek.
I mean, the internet is all nothing but pathos, really. If you see it.
Yeah. People use pathos as logos all the time.
Not a lot of ethos on there.
Ethos too.
Yeah.
Practically none.
Yeah. So it's ridiculous. And he's absolutely right. I mean, this is one of the most sensible articles that I've probably ever read from
this is really good.
Anyone ever.
Yeah, with the fake name. We use his real name.
It might be. Clive might be his real name.
I don't know. It sounds.
His last point is know your audience is another lesson in rhetoric for free, unless you're a Comic Illustrated paid subscriber, because they're paying for it. He says the three argumentation styles are linked to the audience that one is trying to persuade.
Yeah.
Classic arguments go hand in hand with a neutral audience. Like in a court proceeding, both sides present their case, and it is left to the listener or reader to choose the more compelling perspective. Rogerian arguments, not named after Mr. Rogers, are most effective when the audience is opposed to the speaker or writer's way of thinking. One often cannot change an audience member's mind if it is already made up. The Rogerian arguer tries to find room for compromise. Finally, there's choir preaching. If you are snug in your worldview, use this to seek out your echo chamber. The internet is the way it is because very little effort is put into audience awareness. Demonstrating as much humanity online as you expect from others in your daily life speaks to your character.
But okay, I have a little comment here. On this. The thing is, like, yeah, maybe you see a big fight on the internet, but how many of them are really being serious? Like, you can't really know who's being serious in the internet because you don't have tone, you don't have inflection.
You don't have tone, yeah.
And the thing is, like, yeah, it's a thing of taking the internet way too seriously.
Yeah, and you have to understand who you're talking to. Someone might be vehemently opposed to you, so you're gonna have to realize that maybe you can find some common ground or some kind of compromise with them, but maybe not.
Yeah.
And understanding that. But I like the idea of
speaking of not knowing who he's talking to. Rex is in the house.
Yeah, what's up, Rex?
Rex.
But then he ends off here with this impact, and I really wanted to read this part because it really, I think it spoke to kind of where super fans can go wrong sometimes. So Pisker committed suicide. He is beyond your apologies. Rikita may lose his family and children. Weighing in with cutting jibes and reposting generic memes might get a chuckle out of one's friends, but that mob mentality can also have negative effects that one hopefully never sees in news headlines. Young bullies and predators have led to proposals for restrictive legislation with regards to internet use.
Yeah.
If someone makes you mad, block them. Go on with your day. Odds are high that you do not know the user in person, so why give them power over you? And before you try to exert influence over someone else, a cliche as it sounds, think before you post. Because there's too much of that mob mentality.
True.
I have a comment on this. I have a comment on this because maybe with Rikita, but with Ed Piskor, they were blocking him from business. Like, they kicked him out of a gallery. They were messing with his real life.
They destroyed his life in a couple of days. Boom, 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 done.
They were messing with his real life. This is not.
The court of popular opinion was swayed by internet bullies.
Yeah,
exactly.
By fans
piling on.
By fans who felt like they were entitled to make a decision. Yeah, that felt like they were entitled to destroy him.
I don't even think it was that. I think there was a group, Whisper Network, you might say. Piskor apparently a week or so before that gave an interview to the wrong side of the aisle, and they were looking for something to get him on. They got him on this thing from 4 or 5 years ago, and then this other girl stepped in and dogpiled, and apparently it seems that her story was totally fabricated. At least that's what Piskor says in his suicide note.
Well, she came out and admitted it, yeah.
Did she? I didn't.
That's what I read.
Know that she had done
I read that in an
yet.
article. Yeah.
Anyway, she needs to be sued and brought up on criminal charges.
So Nerd Wonder says that there's a difference between Pisker and Rikita.
Yes.
Ed was wrongfully accused. Nick is revealed to be a drug addict and abused his children. Yes, but I'm going to go back to know your place. I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
I'm not behind the scenes there. I don't know anything about that kind of law, and I'm not a friend of Nick, nor am I a fan of Nick.
Yeah.
Same with Ed. I don't think I did any I don't think I did any public post about the topic outside of the fact that I was just sad about comics in general because of the way people were.
Right.
But I'm not an expert, and chances are you're not an expert either. So why do we?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, this is for the law to solve, not us, not the media.
Let the law take care of Nick.
Yeah.
Let the law take care of these people. Let me say these are internet bullies, and we stay away from them.
Not just
because if I see you piling on either one of these guys, I'm going to avoid you like the plague. Because I know if I ever have one mishap, or if I'm ever down and I screw up by some chance, I don't want people that are just going to pile on me.
Rakesh has already come out and said that people don't know the whole story, and nobody does, except for Nick and the law. So,
but I also believe you live by the sword, you die by the sword.
Ought to be ashamed of themselves. Yeah, that's true too.
But I do believe you live, and the thing is, Nick dogpiled. He lived by the sword, right?
Yeah.
Don't poke the bear if you don't want to get bit.
Well, technically, so did Piscor for a while.
Yeah.
He was very left and inside those whisper networks.
I do believe if you live that way, you're going to die that way. Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Matt.
So that's why I really try my best to avoid that, if at all possible. It's not my job to speak ill or speak negative of someone, unless I'm direct. I was on a stream last night, and I was still trying to be polite about the Liberty thing. Right? It's like, look, it's over. That individual he's suffering in his own personal life. There's no need for me to pile on. The wrong that we spoke out about could not be rectified, but at least it became known.
Yeah.
So that other people could avoid being grifted, and that's all that mattered. Someone would be like, "Well, Luke, you guys were involved in cancel culture." No, that was a person canceling themselves.
Yeah.
Us being honest about the situation. All that we said what we presented were facts. Like, this is the truth. And the truth is what needs to be the determining factor there. With Ed, those were lies and rumors that canceled him. Nick, I believe Nick is getting canceled because he's a cancel culture guy, and the truth that we do know, even though we don't know the whole story, we can see the truth that's there.
Looks really damning. Yeah.
Then you make your opinion based on that, and if that means that you leave that circle, then okay. But base it off of facts, and there's no need to pile on. There's enough people out there doing it already. I don't need to do a stream on it. I don't need to do an article about it. But that's why I really like this, because it talked about those two things that had happened. And it said part of the problem that we're seeing is these pile-ons and fans kind of making things worse, I think.
And again, the majority of that is coming from inside the industry, more than it is.
So I do want to talk about this for a second. I think the best comments were made by Mr. Metacore. So apparently this guy did a video saying that the downfall of Nick was due to a cursed medallion that he wore.
Oh.
He goes through this whole metaphysical thing. It's like a 20-minute video. I can't even watch the whole thing. I watched like 10 minutes of it and I couldn't breathe.
It was like a gypsy curse? What?
This dude is serious. He was dead serious. That it's a cursed medallion that caused Nick to go down. I'm like, no, what happened was he was hanging out with the wrong people. If that's what you're talking about by cursed medallion. But yeah, it's like, because your friends do matter. The people you hang out with is who you start to act like.
And the medallions you wear too.
Right. It's why we're so selective about who we hang out with here. We're Era Comics people here for a reason. If we won't work with you on a publication, then we won't. Then I'm not going to work with you anywhere else. Like, honestly, very closely, dude. It's legit. It's cursed.
But what kind of curses? You have like Amazonian curses. You have gypsy curses. You have curses from the Urals.
Oh yeah, it's 4 hours. It's. I guess it is 4 hours. I saw a 20-minute cut down of it.
Yeah,
I saw where they cut it down for 20 minutes, and I couldn't make it through the whole thing.
But he's
like it. It reminds me of that scene where that guy's got all the stuff on the wall and the strings, and he's like, oh, and he's just going off, right? I'm like, no, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh my god. That's the thing.
You gotta be kidding me.
Those videos have entertainment value. Like I remember, like at the birth of
it was the trailer.
The 20 minutes was the trailer. Yeah.
You guys remember?
Gosh, it's really a trailer.
You guys remember Reverend X from the dawn of YouTube?
Oh my gosh, that's old time.
Yeah, like he had like a phone book, and he was inventing scripture out of nowhere. and he's basically a crackhead pretending to be a rapper. Like I used to watch that stuff for hours while I was working because it was so unhinged. So yeah, like there's this.
So here's the thing, Nerd Wonder.
Son of Chew.
I don't think that the medallion causes it. I think people that are on a downward spiral choose to wear the medallion.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it's we think it's like a chicken or the eggs scenario. No, I don't think the medallion causes the downfall. I think a spiral has already begun. And a surefire way to know that they're going to a fiery end is when they choose to put on the medallion.
The victim is the medallion, not the wearer.
Yes.
The medallion's
like, no! Would you weirdos stop putting me on?
Yeah, stop wearing me. You give me a bad rep.
Oh, it's so ridiculous. So I think Mindy Wheeler actually posted about that, and I was like, wait, did you say a cursed medallion? So I had to go check out the video. I was like, I googled it, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
I'm looking
this
for
is
it right
the craziest. Now. I'm like, thank God for the internet for stuff like that. But really, you know what I think the internet's good for? I think it's good for stuff.
If you look at something and there's nothing there, what's the difference of figuring out what it was in the first place?
And it's great for things like this.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit. Taste the honey sauce. Taste the goodness of the biscuit with the honey sauce.
If it weren't for the internet, I would know nothing about this fella.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
And
so the internet can be very good. It can be very good for us.
If it wasn't for the internet, I'd probably get more done.
Yeah, that's
well, that's that's for sure. That's definite.
Found one that's 3 hours. I missed 3 hours long from Medicare. Is that the one we're talking about?
I found it.
Yeah, that's the one.
I found the Sonny Chew medallion, man.
So I missed the perfect clip when we were talking about nude comics.
Do you draw the Flintstones naked? There's a market for that.
Yeah, I should have played that clip earlier. Yeah. But guys, we're well over the hour and a half mark. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
we've been having a good time today.
Yeah.
She said, I would agree, but Crip Daddy was pretty cool. He died after wearing this. Yeah.
Dude, it's called the Sonny Chew curse. It's not.
Again, I think.
Oh my God.
I think that you could still be cool and be in a downward spiral, making poor choices. I think you're already making poor choices, and the medallion just happens to be one of them. That's what I think.
Yeah. I think the medallion is
So if you ever see me put on the medallion,
medallion's a victim.
It's not the medallion that killed me.
Yeah.
It's not the medallion that got me.
Well, it's like a bullet, isn't it? Bullets don't kill people, do they? It's people who fire it at someone.
Yeah, it's people who stand in front of them.
It's like waving the hammer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a tool.
It's like, Yeah. The bullet's not the. There's a lot of causes. Like the gun's not the killer. It's the person that.
I mean, don't forget,
wields it. Yeah.
A lot of people were killed before there were rifles, and
they still do.
There's a lot more gruesome though.
Guys, it's been a good morning. Please don't forget to go check out
the Sonny Chew medallion.
Please don't forget to go check out the Sonny Chew medallion. Don't forget to check out the member section of Luke Stone Studios. If nothing else, please go over there and sign up for my mailing list.
Yeah.
And I try to send out encouraging emails every couple of weeks. I try to send something out, and then occasionally I will let you know on something new that's happening. Don't forget to check out arrowcomics.store tomorrow. Huge announcements coming from Arrow Comics.
Huge.
And
we won't be announcing the addition of the Son of Chew medallion to the store until we've got them in-house and ready to be shipped. Ready to be shipped.
Yeah.
Yes.
The Arrow branded Son of Chew medallions.
Dude, this show has been amazing.
I'm going to go out and buy some more.
Okay.
And I think you should too.
Dude, this show has been amazing today. We had the release in the wood. The Sonny Chew medallion. We got You're Too Ugly to Record ballads. To be a ballad singer.
It's been a great day. Funmycomic.com. Don't forget to check that out. Got some great campaigns over there. Getting ready to close.
Look
Silverline Comics has one.
Look for Devil
down.
Flyer over there
3
too.
days.
That's Rex's book.
And then we got Devil Flyer over there.
Come on here.
How many
That's
days do you have left, Devil?
Yeah.
Rex.
Rex been too chatty today. Like I don't like him.
I think
Very
he's here
chatty.
just to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rex,
He's always
there.
He's always
like when you go to a play, but you sit on the stage to watch the play.
There you are.
Yeah, we're in storefront over there. 60 backers,
There you go.
$3,405.
Oh, there you go.
Way to go, dude. That did really well.
Yeah.
That did really
Awesome,
well,
man.
Rex.
He might not even
Proud
be
of
there.
your work there. He might not, but we're giving him his flowers anyway.
There you
as
are.
they like to say. Also, fundiverse.com. Don't forget to check that out. We've got a couple things getting ready to go on over there.
Fun diverse.
Fun diverse.
Fun diverse.
It's
Everything
fun to be
about it.
diverse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's a universe of funding.
Yeah.
You take your pick. So, don't forget to check those out. Big news from Arrow Comics coming tomorrow. You do not want to miss it.
Yeah.
We will be putting that. That will be going out just about everywhere. Just about everywhere.
Big news.
I'm gonna
Big
need a nap
news.
after this. Yeah.
What time is the news going out?
Well, I think it's first going to be announced with on Randy's
Right.
show in the morning. Comics
it?
by night.
Oh,
Well, part of it is.
okay.
Part of it. The first one part of it is.
You're gonna have to come on at 5 a.m. and make that announcement.
I will try my damnedest to be there. I will try my damnedest to be there.
Yes, we've got a great Kirby book that we'll be looking at about Kirby's career with Marvel. It's a great coffee table book. A lot of great Kirby artwork we'll be looking at. That's Comics by Night, 5 a.m., Indie Comics Network, Randy Zim YouTube channel, and the Comic Book Black Belt YouTube channel as well. So go over there and enjoy.
Yep. Lots of good stuff.
Catch us live because you don't want to miss that announcement.
Yep. The announcement's coming. It's going to be great. Big stuff coming. I'm excited.
Big stuff.
About what we're doing with Arrow Comics these days. I really am. What else was I going to say? I don't know. It's time for me to go. I've got work to do. I've got pages to draw. And you guys out there have, I don't know, post to scroll.
Post
Pedro?
to scroll.
What's that?
Are
Sorry.
you live? Are you with us?
Yeah,
You fell asleep?
I was doing an impression of Rex.
Right.
What's up? What am I doing?
He was trying to buy. He was trying to buy his medallion online.
Probably.
Yeah.
Were you looking?
Sunny Chew, yeah.
Were you looking for a
I
medallion?
Get that Sonic Chew medallion.
I can get one free.
You're there?
Yeah, I'm here. What's up, Rex?
Feel the sizzle on Nerd Bacon.
There
There
you
we
go.
go.
Wow. We got to clear that.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe here to the channel, and tell your friends about what's going on, and check out Fund My Comic ArrowComics.store. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Traffic has increased over there, so our marketing is working.
Look,
So
I gotta
we've
be
seen,
honest. I looked at the Pink channel and I compared it. I was featuring a lot of the majority of projects over there on Fund My Comic, and then I later that day looked at Indiegogo, and I got to say that they didn't have much.
Well, you
Fund My
couldn't
Comic
find much.
Fund My
because-
Comic had plenty of great projects over there, but
Yeah.
I was really miffed that the Pink channel didn't have much right now. I was like, wow.
You might not have been able to find much because a lot of that stuff's being shadow banned. Where
It's
you have to
shadow
have
banned, right?
You
Yeah.
you have to have the address, the link, in order to get to
Exactly.
that page because you can't search for it.
Yeah.
Look, we got more great stuff coming too, guys. I'm serious. Some of the
Thank you, IGG Czar. You're just making FMC all that much better.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
Amen.
it's great. Well, guys, it has been a fun day. Thanks for being here again, panel. Appreciate it. Chat, thank you for being here and chiming in with us. We do appreciate you. We do this show for you, after all. A little bit for us, but mostly for you. You're the ones we're here for. It can be therapeutic at times.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be very confusing.
It can be.
Well, that's only when you let Pedro on.
Right.
Yep.
But we definitely want to be building up more than we tear down, guys. Hating ain't creating, as Randy likes to say.
Hating ain't creating, folks.
Yeah,
Build up more
and
than you
if
tear
you need
down.
to
Leave for
release,
the wood.
yeah, and you need to release Go Into the Woods. That's another Randy Zimmerman
release-
special.
What have you
I didn't
done
say
for
that
me
at all.
lately?
That's all. Pedro.
What a story, Mark.
Yeah. That's the jungle in those chickens. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goat, sir. I've evolved. Now I'm a goat farmer now.
Did someone say chicken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's me. All right, guys. Leave the wood pile higher than you found it and be careful out there.
Peace out.
Let's be careful out there. Let's be careful out there. We had a 187 at the 7-Eleven on the corner of 4th and Main. Two Caucasians of the male persuasion put a bullet through the cashier's brain. Moving on, I see a 211, half a dozen 459, 2 AEWs, a GTA, and several miscellaneous fines. Homicide, arson, robbery, rape, everybody gets their share.